Hello everyone. This is Toby from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
We always start with the 3 preparations. At first, you want to sit upright and allow the body to remain relaxed, open, soft. During the meditation practice, let your body be as still as possible. Avoid all unnecessary fidgeting and moving. And of course, it depends on your skill and how much you've already practiced. You don't want to be sitting here forcing yourself to remain still in agony. Nonetheless, keep in mind that it's important to cultivate stillness in the body, to train yourself to remain still, to not react to every little impulse the body sends. And instead, practice releasing tension, releasing nervousness, softening. So this is the meaning of upright and relaxed. Secondly, breathe in a way that feels comfortable, that feels nice. Notice I'm not saying that you should be breathing with your belly or you should be breathing very deeply or something like that. Start by just breathing in a way that feels good to yourself. And as a result of sitting upright and relaxed and breathing comfortably, the breath will naturally sink down in the body. And drop into the belly. As you relax more and more, the breathing will also slow down. The attitude, the mindset that you bring to the practice is one of kindness and compassion. We're not superimposing anything onto ourselves. We're not controlling or forcing. We're not looking at ourselves as a thing that is broken that must be fixed. Instead, there's a warm sense of curiosity, wanting to get to know yourself. There's a sense of understanding, of empathy for whatever it is that you're going through in this moment. Kindness is often felt as a wish. May I be truly happy, may I be at ease. And compassion as the wish. May I be free from suffering and stress. May I be at peace. As a result of looking at yourself with kindness, warmth, with compassion, your eyes will soften. And sometimes you may even feel like smiling a little bit. This is nothing that we contrive, the smile with your eyes, with your lips. It's something that should come from your heart. And coming into the first stage of the actual meditation practice, where you train yourself to settle the body. Breathing in, feeling your legs, saturating your legs with consciousness. As you breathe out, softening, releasing all the unnecessary tension in your legs. Feel free to play with the sensations of your breath. You can think of your breath in terms of melting away, softening the various pockets of tension, breathing through or around your tension. Notice how nice it is, even if there's a little bit of release while you're breathing out. Feels a little bit better. Gives you an indication of what to follow. Each time you let go, it feels a little bit better. That's very good. Keep following exactly what you're doing. And breathing in, feeling your belly. Breathing out, softening, releasing the belly. Each time you're breathing out, let all the tissues melt and evaporate. And breathing in, feeling your heart, your chest. Breathing out, softening, releasing the heart and the chest. Really saturating the entire area with consciousness, bringing your mind there into every cell. Truly connecting body and mind. And it is in such a nice context as we let go of and release the tension while we're breathing out. Finding an ever deepening sense of comfort and calm. You may also begin to notice how when the mind is not content, it seeks to move away from the body. It wants to go into the future. It wants to go to the next moment. And this immediately manifests as tension in your body. If you catch that, then release again with the out-breath, coming back. This is all the difference in your experience of suffering or stress and happiness or release. And breathing in, feeling your shoulders and arms. Breathing out, softening, releasing shoulders and arms. Just keep finding and following this nice sense of letting go, releasing, softening. And breathing in, feeling your head, and breathing out, softening, releasing the head. Breathing in, spreading the mind through the entire body, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, softening, releasing through the whole body. As if the entire body is made out of breath. With each out breath, the entire body becomes more and more transparent, soft, and comfortable. Let this body-mind connection become so enjoyable, so calm, that the mind doesn't need to go into the future or the past or think about anything other than what is happening right this second. And you can notice how being comfortable with yourself is the cause of presence. The mind is dispersing, it's distracted, it's not present because we're not comfortable. If you're present, it's perfectly fine to just be here with those sensations, the experience of sound. It's perfectly enough. It's satisfying. Just let the body and mind rest in this state of presence. Slowly sinking deeper into the now. That might sound a bit cryptic. What I really mean is to be aware of what is rather than what is not. Simply knowing this experience for what it is. Thinking, feeling, hearing, seeing. And sometimes also smelling or tasting. Notice how your attention effortlessly moves from experience to experience, from sound to sound, from feeling to feeling. From idea to idea. Knowing this process is presence. Knowing where my attention is right now is presence. While remaining rested within presence, centered in knowing yourself, you can slowly return and open your eyes and gently stretch a little bit. Or if you like, you can simply stay in meditation. So, good morning, everyone. Nice to have you. So last Tuesday, I touched on the subject of purpose and frequency. is especially relevant to anyone that seeks to start out on the journey of meditation. The question, why are you doing this? What's the point of sitting down every day and crossing your legs and closing your eyes? What are you really looking for? Try to be as precise as possible in answering that question. It's one of the most important things you can do, is gain clarity on what you're doing it for, why you're doing it. A lot of people skip this step, and it usually then keeps popping up later on your journey in the form of distractions, in the form of conflicts with your practice. You suddenly feel much more like, I want to do this now instead of sitting down for meditation, or something like that. That will usually come up for even really advanced practitioners. There's a conflict between their practice and other goals that they have. And so it's really important to understand why you're sitting down, what the purpose of sitting down is, and what the role in terms of priority is for sitting down and practicing meditation. In general, what is the priority in your life? Why are you alive? Why are you doing things? What are you looking for? What is it that you would like to have completed on your deathbed? Is there any unfinished business that still needs to be taken care of? And what's the symbolic meaning of this unfinished business? Is it, for example, say like, I wish I would have contacted my family more. I wish I would have forgiven those who trespassed against me, or something like that. What is it that you really want? What's really behind your desires? I wish I would have traveled more. Why? Ask yourself, what is it about traveling that you find attractive? Exactly. Is it, what's so fascinating about being in a different place? Why do you enjoy it? What is it that you really look for? Is it novelty? Are you bored? Are you therefore looking for novelty? Are you trying to still the thirst that is in yourself for new experiences by moving around? And perhaps once you move, then you feel a sense of happiness and ease, rather than staying stationary in one place. Now there's novelty. Now you feel excited. You feel like I'm living my life, and so on. So is that what you're looking for? Are you traveling to feel alive? Have you connected a sense of aliveness with moving your body from A to B? Would it perhaps be possible to feel exactly that aliveness that you feel when you're traveling, also when you're not traveling? Is there such a possibility? Is perhaps meditation that very thing that would address that lack of feeling alive? If that's what you want, if that's what you're looking for. Perhaps happiness is what you're looking for. So you will eventually find out on your journey that you have connected the concept of happiness, your idea of happiness, to various things, like gaining material things, or gaining relationships, or gaining success in your work, and so on. And you have connected that with happiness, so that there is a dependency between certain things that you are pursuing and the idea of happiness. Now, once I get this, then I can finally relax. And you know, that's very subtle. When you sit in meditation, that would appear as, this is tough, I wish the bell would be ringing soon. Because then when the bell rings, you have connected that to a permission to feel, now I can finally relax. I can now finally do what's really important in my life. That is an example, a very practical example of a conflict that lives within you. You want to do your meditation, but you also don't want to do it. There's two parts of yourself pulling in totally different directions. One is pulling you into the world of the senses. The other one is pulling you away from the world of the senses. What is pulling you away into the world of stillness is meditation, away from your senses, away from experiences and an experiencer towards a unity. And the other one is pulling you into dispersion. And what is pulling you into dispersion, into distraction, into getting lost is the promise that out there is happiness and you just need to go get it. And your happiness is in the future. It's not here and now. It's when the bell rings. It's when you're retired. It's when you finally embark on your journey to Thailand. Now it's a holiday. Now you have permission to relax. But you couldn't relax prior to that because you had your 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, waiting for Friday. Because on Friday, you can do what? You can go, now I can live. Now I can enjoy myself. Perhaps that's exactly what we're looking for at the baseline. A sense of release and relaxation, sense of fulfillment. And we have connected that to so many things. Maybe you don't need to have that connection to those things. Maybe it is available to you right now, independently of how circumstances turn out to be. The spiritual path's purpose is on the lower levels precisely to point that out, that your happiness could be independent of circumstance. You don't have to make stuff responsible for the way you feel. You don't have to make other people responsible for the way you feel. Imagine that level of slavery. It's what comes so natural. You make me feel angry. You make me feel so happy. Really? Would you want to, I often ask that, so forgive me if I'm repetitive, would you want to sign a contract where you're giving away that responsibility over your own feelings and assign it to other people? Would you willfully, consciously do that? I sign away my right to take charge over how I feel, how I experience myself, and I hand it over to other people. My feelings are dependent on what other people do to me. For example, my happiness is dependent over whether you're liking my talk today or not. Would I sign that paper willfully? Hell no. Absolutely not. That is horrific slavery. I mean, my happiness is in your hands. Like, okay, you over there, you're smiling. That signals to me, okay, what I'm saying is all right. But you are not smiling, so now I'm in a conflict. Am I okay? Is what I'm saying okay? Do I get your approval? Can I exist? Or do I have to feel shameful about myself? Do I have to feel bad about myself? After moving away from the talk, I have to sit down on my sofa and then I have to question myself, did I do something wrong? 50% of the class today was not smiling. The other 50 was smiling. Maybe 70% were not smiling. Am I doing the right thing? That level of dependency is not good at all. It's something I'd rather not have. I'd rather just be at ease within myself and share that with you. Well, if you enjoy it, then, welcome. If you don't enjoy it, welcome. You have that freedom to enjoy yourself or not, right? If you decide to make that dependent on my talk, well, I wish you wouldn't do that, but I can't control you to not do that either, right? You are free to feel whatever you want to feel. And you have the possibility to make yourself feel really good. It's right there, right now. Thing is,
most of us, we don't know at all how to do it. We've never learned it. How do I make myself feel good? Well, what have we learned since we were little children? We've learned that in order to feel good, you need the approval of your parents. Your parents need to say, good boy, good girl. You're fantastic. Wow, you brought home an A. Okay, so the child learns, well, if I bring home an A, I'm okay. I seem to be a good person. I'm liked by my parents. I get good feedback. So then the child learns really quickly that if I perform in accordance with the wishes of others, I am graded well. I am a good person. I have permission to exist. I'm welcome in the group of other beings. And this is important. We need that as a basic structure. If we wouldn't have that, societies wouldn't work. But isn't it also true that to you there is also a deeper level where you can get to know yourself beyond those societal concepts, beyond your past conditioning, where you are safe and happy within yourself? That also exists. Underneath or above that societal conditioning, which is important. I'm not downplaying the role of societal conditioning. Societal conditioning is really important. We need to learn manners. We need to know how to deal with one another. We need to have rules. We need to have laws. Those laws need to be enforced. Otherwise, it would be, the natural law will quickly take over, which is a bit higher than the human law. Well, the natural law is the strongest one survives. What would that mean? It's very practical. If there wasn't police, soldiers, if there wasn't a law, if there was no one to enforce that law, what would happen? Who would be the first victim? Who would be eaten by those who are stronger? That would play out really fast. Sometimes all it needs is just the breaking down of the electric network. It's breaking down of the internet, and people become very quickly very wild. A friend of mine talked about a story where he was locked in an Australian town that was flooded for a month. They had no electricity, no nothing. And he said, decent people, neighbors, friends, started to turn on one another. There's just no way out. Really scared him to the bone, because people that are normally okay with one another, when they get hungry and when no food is coming into the area, when electricity is broken down, there's no contact out, people freak out. And when they freak out, they become incredibly dangerous. That is within all of us. That possibility to freak out, of becoming completely wild and untamed. And right now, that is regulated by laws and by police and so on and so forth, that we can't just do whatever we want to do, whenever we want to do it. That is governed by societal conditioning, not only police and law, but also the parental conditioning, manners, and so on. It allows us to coexist peacefully. So I'm not downplaying that. But I'm saying that there is a level above that where you can experience yourself having freedom from that, from being independent of that, meaning you have peace whether or not there is that conditioning in place. You have a home outside of conditioning. That is the possibility that meditation practice and training points to. In other words, if circumstances get really bad, you don't lose basic happiness. You don't lose peace of mind. And that has been demonstrated as well by fairly advanced practitioners throughout the history, multiple times, in great distress. You can read it in the life story of Thich Nhat Hanh for the Vietnamese War and so on, what he had to go through. You can read it in a life story of Tibetan monks and nuns who have been chased out of their monasteries experience great horrors, bombing and so on. And then you can hear how they have dealt with it, being incarcerated in gulags for decades. And coming out with their minds still intact, with their hearts still intact, with their morality still intact, because they've had a refuge that goes beyond the conditioning. It goes beyond circumstance, meaning you're okay regardless of circumstance. That is peace. As long as you don't have that, there's always fear. The fear is, if circumstances will change, I will suffer. And I know that deep down inside of myself. I know that. If someone comes and takes your house and takes your bank accounts and takes your family members, if you happen to be alone, if you happen to be isolated, as it happened during the COVID times, right? A lot of people lost their sanity, lost their mental health to a large extent. Being locked in a room all the time, just with one person, your wife, your spouse, your husband, and no way of escaping one another, then, things quickly get really bad. Because we are not used to be limited. We can move around freely, we can do things and so on. So circumstances are quite okay right now for most of us. What if they are not? Well, if that then means that you will not be okay because circumstances are not okay, then there's work to be done, and that's one of the primary reasons, motivating factors. The purpose of the spiritual path is freedom. So that you become independent, your happiness becomes independent. And in order to achieve that, you have to make an input. You have to do work to achieve that freedom. It doesn't come naturally. What comes natural is dependency. So right now, if things are going well in your life, you will say, well, I'm pretty happy right now. If things are not going well in your life, then you will say, well, I'm sad, I'm grieving, I'm angry, whatever, because of things. So you are entirely determined and conditioned by things. That is not freedom. And meditation, the spiritual path per se, gives you that kind of way out into freedom, meaning being independent, being rested within your being, independently of circumstances. And that's a great outlook, I think. That's a fantastic possibility that we all have. And one of my own primary reasons to do this and to stick to doing this, because I understand that this is my most important value, is freedom, is truth. And only in truth can you find freedom. You can't find freedom within the realm of pretense and lies and so on. You can only find freedom in truth. And within that freedom, within that truth, there is love. And that love naturally will manifest the more free you become. Because you don't operate from fear. If you are free, you don't have to be afraid. If your existence doesn't depend on circumstances, you don't have to be afraid of circumstances. You don't have to be afraid of other people. You don't have to be afraid of the future. Because the future or other people don't determine who you are. And that's a very good state to be in. Free, relatively free from fear, allows you to act lovingly towards others. Allows you to connect with others because we understand we're all in the same boat here. We all suffer. We all have the potential to suffer. And we're all afraid of that. In some deep, dark part of our personality, there is fear of that. How wonderful would it be to be free from that fear so that we can connect on a meaningful and good level that leads to nothing but benefit to everyone. So this is just an addition to last week's exploration for beginners on purpose, and I've also mentioned on frequency, which meant that the first step to a beginner should be to establish frequency in your practice, having a rhythm, showing up daily or something like that, like having a rhythm, because once you have a rhythm, you can measure that you're making progress or not on that path. If you don't have a solid rhythm, if you don't have the frequency established in your practice, it's really hard to measure. And that can quickly end up in a frustrating way. You don't know where you're going with this. And then other questions come in. Why am I even sitting here? Why would I bother? Why stress out myself further with more schedules and activities to do than I already have? I could also take a nap. I could also just entertain myself with my phone. It's much more expedient, much more easy to do that. Instant gratification. Why would I work for future gratification and sacrifice instant gratification if I could have that pleasure right now? Well, if pleasure is what you're looking for, why meditate indeed? If that's the only thing you're looking for, entertainment and pleasure, meditation makes no sense. It's not the right method to achieve pleasure and instant gratification. So frequency can only be established after having figured out why you're really doing it. Otherwise, you wouldn't put in the work. A good simile would be the person that prepares, say some guy that lives off-grid, live in the wild, and they're preparing for winter, and they do this their entire summertime by every day splitting some wood, making sure that the wood gets dry soon enough. They organize and manage themselves based on what is to come. And so they make sacrifices every day so that what will come doesn't overwhelm them, which is a very wise way of living. But here's a theory of some of the most intellectual societies in this world, where thinking is very prevalent and where there's been written a lot of scientific works, great poetry, and so on throughout the centuries, are societies where preparation is very necessary. Cold, winter, many seasons. You have to think ahead. So that sharpens the intellect. You have to be aware of danger. So you have to prepare, you have to plan in advance. And that intellect can be applied to our own life. So what, in case of suffering, who would I become if I'm challenged? And the challenge could take whatever form. It could take the form of cancer. It could take the form of, a breakup or loss. So then, who would you become in the face of that challenge? Are you preparing for that? Because it will come. That's the thing, right? We're all living our lives, and we will all face hardcore challenges that will come for us. Question is, are you preparing yourself on a daily basis? Are you chopping your wood? Are you filtering your water? Are you smoking your fish? So that you can survive the winter times, which are definite to come. That's another one that really generates the wish to establish frequency, because it's purpose. You have a purpose. I'm not chopping wood for relaxation or to build my muscles. I couldn't care less. My wood chopping activity is not so I can look good. It's so I can survive winter. So my meditation, if it's so that all my friends can see me as a spiritual person, that purpose won't take me very far. But the purpose that I prepare for hard times, which are about to come, that takes me quite far. And that makes it easy to establish the frequency and the rhythm that I need. So I have to reflect on this purpose quite often, so that I sit regularly, so that I can make progress. And the end result is a comfortable winter time. I'm not going to freeze to death. I will have enough food, and I can spend those winter months on a nice fire, reading a nice book, just having a good time, But wouldn't have prepared, not so good. All right, so that's some further ideas for everyone who is about to really embark on this path in more seriousness, more earnest. That's kind of what it takes. And this reflection has to go on. It's not just done once and then you're set. You have to keep conditioning your mind to think in these ways. Otherwise, the mind will just condition itself to think towards instant pleasure and instant avoiding of pain. And we all know where that leads us. Okay, well, that's all that comes to mind concerning this topic.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.